You are welcome to another episode of LFN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. Towards the commencement of the Chicago trial, many people who wished R. Kelly bad were making predictions of what was going to happen, and they were always biased whenever it came to revealing how events were likely to unfold during trial. Many looked at the government's approach of introducing two of R. Kelly's former associates into the case, as co-conspirators who allegedly worked with him to obstruct justice as a wonderful strategy to take down R. Kelly, and with this move, they felt the government was on top of the game. We saw a number of social media fanatics who thought it was the end for R. Kelly make false predictions suggesting the two co-accused Daryl McDavid and Milton June Brown had already made deals that would see them betray R. Kelly in order to stay out of trouble. We also heard some vloggers suggest that these accusations from the 90s were new, simply because the tape evidence which was presented back in the 2008 trial had been beefed up with several other tapes which according to them brought new evidence to the table, and they felt this is reason enough to declare the Chicago charges fresh and new. Well, they were wrong. Looking at attorney Jennifer Bonjean's argument and approach to contesting the old Chicago charges, along with any other outdated claims back in New York which refer to incidences said to have taken place back in the 90s, it's obvious she is just what it takes to have these charges thrown out the window. According to Bonjean, even though the government made an effort to have the statutes of limitations scrapped off before taking R. Kelly to trial, this did not affect events alleged to have taken place back in the 90s before the statute of limitations was updated, and she is right. New laws are not made to affect past events. They are only made to affect future events, especially here in the US where enactment of retroactive laws is highly forbidden and not the other way around. In fact, our country has specific laws that deny Congress the opportunity to create retroactive laws even if they wanted to. It would be difficult for people to live not knowing whether whatever activities they are currently engaged in that are within the law will not be regarded illegal by future enactments. It certainly shouldn't be a citizen's responsibility to predict future laws and make an effort to live within the predicted boundaries that are yet to be decided upon. This is why non-retroactivity of laws is a very important standard, even if some countries have ignored and excluded it from their legal statutes. Bonjean's defense therefore is that even if the statutes of limitations were strategically scrapped off in preparation to oppress R. Kelly with these rather inappropriate charges, this did not affect events that allegedly took place when the limitations still applied. And according to the law back in the 90s, these limitations expired when all the accusers Nia, Pauline and Jane turned 25 years of age. And therefore by the year 2009, all their statutes of limitations had expired. One would therefore be correct to suggest that the Chicago charges derived from allegations in the 90s were quite expired, and should never have been acknowledged by the court to arrive at a judgment that saw R. Kelly receive a 20-year sentence with 1 year to be served consecutively in addition to the already exorbitant 30 years issued by the New York judge. It's a shame on those haters who predicted doom, because they thought that government's introduction of two co-accused former associates of R. Kelly would turn the case around and see the two conspire to incriminate R. Kelly. But it's even a bigger shame on those who imagined that by scraping off the statutes of limitation safeguards, the government had done sufficient preparation to not only defeat the R&B King, but to also ensure he never finds justice, for he will soon be relieved of all those inappropriate charges. While it's true that most of the charges against R. Kelly were concocted as a weapon against him, this is not the approach Jennifer Bonjean is using to argue out her appeal. For these particular charges from decades ago, the non-retroactivity of the updates to the statutes of limitation safeguard is the most appropriate approach to dismissing these charges, and this is the route attorney Jennifer Bonjean is using to fight for R. Kelly's freedom. Even the multiple tapes alone that were being presented by the government as evidence against R. Kelly are not conclusive enough to lead to a conviction, for their chain of custody has since remained broken, and like Bonjean said, there is no way to prove that the people on the recordings are who they allege to be. According to Denika, I like that Jennifer Bonjean has a good understanding of the law and thinks faster than an entire sponsored government team. They may have done a lot of preparation, but for sure, they have no right to implement new laws retroactively, and that is exactly what they did when it comes to violating the statutes of limitations. If in the 90s when these alleged events are said to have taken place the law did not allow for such charges to be brought up when the accusers have passed the ages of 25, why then would government ignore that and do just the opposite of what the laws of the land said? There has been a dominant tendency for government prosecutors, Me Too activists, the Bureau of Prisons officers and the Department of Justice to act with utmost impunity when it came to handling matters to do with the case against R. Kelly. Whether this is a reflection of racism or mere prejudice towards a celebrity artist who happens to be black, there is definitely something wrong with this approach towards the R&B king. We need a successful appeal process such that these mongers of hatred along prejudicial lines can learn their lesson not to marginalize anyone along racial or professional lines. When R. Kelly became top artist and a big-time celebrity, it did not make it his fault that he became the target by many who were seeking to exploit him, and later leave him for dead like they are trying to do. According to Jericho Jackson, the supreme law of this nation ought to be followed to the dot. This is our own constitution we are talking about and we have to respect it. Either this entire fraudulent situation needs to be acquitted or a new trial ordered. The statute of limitation is a major factor when implementing the law and shouldn't be ignored. If the accuser's limitations had already expired, what are these charges doing in court in the first place? The judge should have seen this already and dismissed them right from the beginning, but because he was so bent towards the prosecution, he couldn't look at the matter with an open mind to make the right judgment. Meanwhile, why change a whole legislation in order to have someone incarcerated? There is no doubt that the removal of the statute of limitation was done conveniently, and in a timely manner just before R. Kelly's legal ordeal started. If you wish to take part in a live interview discussing any of these topics, let us know by sending an email to sashalfnmedia@gmail.com for scheduling. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.